San Diego, it's time to fire it up. From the beaches to the ballparks, from the Gaslamp to North County, no one knows America's finest city like he does.
You can't just punt on a Manny Machado prime year.
He's a fourth-generation San Diegan, born and raised in the heart of this community. Passionate, opinionated, and always bringing you the real talk on your teams, your city, and everything in between.
Braden totally knows his stuff. He's ready for the next step. That guy is good.
Live and local, it's the Braden Surprenant Show.
But I think Braden's one of the up-and-coming young stars in the media game in San Diego.
Now, here's your host, Braden Surprenant.
1-1 to Manny, and Machado laces it in the air to deep left. Nimmo back to watch this one. Gonna go! A 3-run exclamation point home run for Manny Machado, his 20th of the year, and the Padre lead is now 7-1.
What's up, San Diego, and happy Wednesday to everybody out there in America's finest city. Braden Surprenant alongside Frank Marchese here as we get you ready for Braden Surprenant Show, leading you up to the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show with Sam Levitt. And a big night last night for the San Diego Padres. They took care of business against the New York Mets for a second time in a row. A nice 7-1 victory that was really capped off by the big blast by Manny Machado in that big 5-run inning for the San Diego Padres. A 5-run bottom of the 7th inning that really put things over the top. Padres jumped out to a 1-0 lead early on yesterday. Mets tied it up in the top of the 5th. Padres answered in the bottom of the 6th and got that big 5-run inning as mentioned with the Manny Machado 3-run homer. And now the Padres take 2 out of 3 minimum against the New York Mets, trying to go for a sweep today against the New York Metropolitans, which is really helping out their overall standings in Major League Baseball. If you take a look at it, and again, we're going to talk a little bit more about this. We're going to keep you monitored on the trade deadline as we lead you up to the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show. But as I mentioned yesterday, and I'll mention it again today, the Padres are in a really good spot. They're matching what the Dodgers are doing so far in Cincinnati. That is honestly best case scenario. When you look at the Dodgers playing Cincinnati and trying to distance yourself from the Reds while also trying to track down the Dodgers, the best case scenario was you match what the Dodgers do in Cincinnati. Now, if the Dodgers sweep Cincinnati, it'd be nice to sweep the New York Mets so you don't lose any ground in the standings for the National League West. Having to, ask for a sweep is always very difficult to do. So that's obviously something that you don't necessarily plan for. But at the same time, so what they have done is they have continued to be at that 4.5 game mark behind Los Angeles, or was it 4 games? Yeah, 4 game mark behind Los Angeles for the National League West. And they have now increased their lead over the Cincinnati Reds, where they now have a 3-game lead on Cincinnati, a 4.5 game lead on St. Louis, and a 5-game lead on San Francisco. That's all great news for the Padres as we head into now under 48 hours to the trade deadline, and it's going to be close to 24 hours here in the next couple of hours or so as the trade deadline's at 3 p.m. Pacific time coming up tomorrow. And we got jam-packed show tomorrow with the roundtable into our show. Gwen and Chris will have the final hour of the trade deadline, and it's been a little slow moving right now on the trade market. And a lot of that is for the fact that a lot of teams that have the capital to trade, have the pieces to sell, have the rental pieces to sell, and even dangling some other profile players that have years of control are asking for the world right now to try to see if somebody will blink and send them a big prospect return to really increase their team in the future. So that's very interesting to see how that plays out. But as we get closer to the deadline, and this is why, I've talked to so many people that have asked about, like, are the Padres going to make a move? Are they going to make a move? Why haven't they made a move yet? You got to wait for the market to get back to a affordable sense. So the longer you wait, eventually the market flips to the buyers having a lot more power than the sellers do, because of the sellers knowing we got to get rid of these guys if we want to get anything out of it. And we have a deadline at 3 o'clock Pacific time tomorrow to try to get that done. So things are going to start moving around. You're starting to see some of the rumors out there, teams looking for bullpen help, teams looking for some starting pitching help. Other teams are asking around about certain players. You talk about the San Diego Padres in particular. And, John Palmarosi had the tweet last night. And again, it might be obvious news for us here in San Diego, but for most of the nation, it was they're looking to dangle the carrot of Dylan Cease or a Robert Suarez to get back what they need in return, which would be an outfielder or a catcher or something like that. And when you look at ways to do that, it's not always just going to be team that wants Dylan Cease, which is going to be a contending team, giving up their starting catcher or giving up their starting left fielder to do that. They're going to give up prospect capital, and then you use that to flip and try to get something else. But it sounds like the Padres, if they decide to make that move, are going to get a lot back if they want to do that. It's got to be a high price, I think, for the Padres to part ways with Robert Suarez, to part ways with guys like Dylan Cease. And we're going to try to keep it monitored right now on what's going on with the Padres and with everything else. I mean, I haven't seen A.J. Preller walking around here yet, but I would imagine a lot of people are going to keep their eyes on the press box area where he usually sits to see if he's on the phone or if he's just locked in his office trying to work on a lot of different deals right now. There's a lot of other moves and rumors being thrown out there. It sounds like the Houston Astros might be interested in reuniting with Carlos Correa. They're talking to the Twins. I mean, we just saw yesterday that the Astros' biggest priority was Dylan Cease. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens in the next 24, just over by 30 hours before the trade deadline. And again, we're going to have you covered on all of that coming up tomorrow and throughout the rest of today, obviously. And, during the Padre game, we'll try to keep things covered on our social media platforms as well. If you haven't done that already, be sure to follow us at 97 through the Fan SD on social media. You can follow us on Twitter. You can follow us on Instagram. And then you can follow myself and Frank Marchese on social media as well. All of those links are in the description below if you're watching on YouTube. All right, let's go back to last night's game. And what we said going into this week for Padres baseball was like to see more consistency out of the offense. Like to see the bottom of the lineup contribute a lot more. And you're starting to see that right now with the San Diego Padres. You're starting to see them finally you're starting to see them rack off a couple of games in a row in which they are putting together good at-bats. They're driving in runs. And now we have seen, since the All-Star break, a lot more games with more offense and a lot less games with less offense that we saw for 2 months. 2 months during the, right before the All-Star break. Last night, Fernando 1 for 3, Luis Arraez 1 for 2, Machado 1 for 4, that 3-run homer with a run scored, drove in 3 runs. Jackson Merrill 2 for 4. It's good to see him hitting again. Bogarts went 0 for, but he was hitting the screws. He was hitting the ball on the screws. Jose Iglesias contributing. Jake Cronenworth contributing. And how about, the catching position for the Padres has contributed a little bit. Diaz got his average over 200. I'm not going to hang a banner for that, but at the same time, it's nice to see some contributions from the bottom of the order. It's the first time that Bryce Johnson hasn't gotten a hit in a while. It seems like he went 0 for 4, but he's still hitting 333 on the year for his limited time. We talked about that yesterday. I think Bryce Johnson has earned a spot on this team post deadline, but we'll see. You never know what you're going to get out of AJ Preller run teams about the trade deadline and players that might be available, players that might not be available, and we'll see. It's going to be very interesting. But overall, last night, great night if you're a Padres fan. It's 2 nights in a row. It's great to be a Padres fan and great to not be a Mets fan, Frank.
Really had to go there, huh?
I had
no,
to.
I mean, again, and I'm getting exactly what I expected out of this series. I said on Monday and I said yesterday what the Padres are going to win this series. Monday, certainly a wild game. Yesterday, as far as the Mets go, pretty standard for them to give up a loss on a wild game and then just not show up the next night. But all credit to the Padres. They have played incredibly, incredibly well all series long in all aspects of the game, especially in an aspect that we've been talking about them not playing well in for a very long time, which is hitting with runners in scoring position. They are capitalizing on every mistake that the Mets make, and they're showing it, and it's showing up in games won, and now you're back 10 games over 500 again, feeling a lot better about yourself than you were into the weekend.
Feeling a lot better, and we got the math that you have to pay attention to if you're a Padres fan. for the next handful of weeks. Again, I don't really like diving into this until after the deadline, just because, it's still relatively early to start, scoreboard watching, but it's great. It's great news. I mean, last night you had everything that kind of you needed to happen. The Pirates have been, kicking the snot out of the San Francisco Giants the last couple of days. That's great news if you're a Padres fan. The Giants are starting to falter a little bit. And then you look around Major League Baseball. I mean, it's kind of a win-win with Cincinnati and Los Angeles, but, the Dodgers taking care of the Reds is not a bad thing if you're a San Diego Padres fan. I mean, that's the next team in competition with you for a wild card spot. You got to secure the wild card spot before you start thinking about, I think, the division a little bit. You're 4 games back, though, so you're still in the race for the division. And like I've said before, I think the Padres are in a really good spot standings-wise, and it's nice to rack up some wins right now. We talk about the crucial 42. Right now, what are the Padres, 3-2 in the crucial 42 right now? 4-2 now. After last night, off to a really good start with the crucial 42 coming up here on this next stretch. So this is the most difficult stretch of the year for the San Diego Padres. It started in St. Louis in reality. And, when we first talked about this 2 months ago, we didn't necessarily think St. Louis was going to be part of that equation. But, they're right there competing at least until the trade deadline. And who knows how many players are left for St. Louis when they roll into town on Friday. So we'll see what the Cardinals are like after the trade deadline, but sounds like a lot of bullpen arms are available for the St. Louis Cardinals, and including one that the Padres might be interested in as well that we saw on MLB Rumors that we'll talk more about in the 11 o'clock hour today. So we're just getting started here. We're talking Padres baseball, talk a little bit about last night. We talked about him yesterday, Adrian Morejon. He's getting more and more confident every single outing he goes out there. I mean, he's still, 26 years old? He's been in the league for 7 years. They signed him as like a 15, 16-year-old. I remember they gave him like a $5 million signing bonus to be a starting pitcher. I still think they can turn him into a starting pitcher over the next 2 years if they really wanted to. It sounds like they haven't been interested in doing that, but he's right around the Michael King area that he started to flip into a starting pitcher. But he's been such a great bullpen piece to me. It's like they don't talk about him as much in the national spotlight when it comes to why you can trade a guy like Robert Suarez. They talk about Jason Adam and they talk about Estrada, but they never talk about Adrian Morejon. That's why yesterday we brought up the case. It's like he might be one of the most underrated pitchers in Major League Baseball as a bullpen arm. And I like his mantra. I like his swagger. I mean, he's out there fired up, gritty, ready to go out there and take it every single day. And you don't see that out of the closer in Robert Suarez sometimes. But, it's different kind of personality. I mean, Robert Suarez he's a calm dude up there. He doesn't need to get super high strung, but I love watching Adrian Morejon go out there and pitch. He's done a phenomenal job, and he did that again last night. So, when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about where the Padres are at standings-wise, what they kind of looks like. If it's a season ended today, Frank would be in a box because the Padres would be playing the New York Mets in a playoff series, and that would just make it even more painful because it means more in October, and that doesn't end well for Frank. So we'll tell you what kind of needs to happen over the next couple of weeks or so, where everything stands. I mean, it's kind of early still, and until the trade deadline passes, where you don't really know what this roster can look like in the next 30 hours or so, it's hard to really dive into the numbers too much. But we'll tell you, what kind of needs to happen in their next 54 games or so to really secure a playoff spot. Right now, the odds are good. And like I said yesterday, the Padres are in a really good position here in the second half of the season. He's Frank Marchese. I'm Braden Surprenant. We're live at the Loft, so when you get here to Petco Park, come up to the Loft, have a drink, hang out with us, and we're going to be here until Sam Levitt takes over for the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show. When we come back, where the Padres are at standings-wise as it looks into their hunt for October. Braden Surprenant Show, off and rolling from the Loft on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Braden Surprenant Show live at the Loft in the top deck of the Western Metal Supply Company building alongside Frank Marchese. We're getting ready for Padres and Mets game 3 of the 3-game series here at Petco Park. Our ketchup friend. That's hilarious. That was awesome. Our guy Mike Crum, who puts ketchup on his tacos, just walked by and dropped off some Heinz ketchup. He must have had some breakfast tacos then. Some carne asada tacos with the ketchup.
You'll love to see it. And the best part
That's
was it was just a drive-by.
He
He
just walked by,
right out,
dropped the ketchup down,
and left.
Best condiment for a taco, apparently, locked in. I don't know where we got to put that back. I don't know. That's probably for that suite out there.
Yeah, it's probably right there.
All right, we'll have to deal with that. Okay, we're out here at the Loft. We're having a good time. We're getting you ready for Padres baseball as they try to sweep the New York Mets. I'm satisfied with 2 out of 3, but I will say this. I know the fans are just going to be all over you on a Padres sweep, and I can't wait.
You know what? This is why we did it, though. This is why we had fun on Monday, to get you guys going and to get a relationship built with the fans and the listeners and some of the people who are going to be here in the Loft today that you can't get with any of the other shows because it's all Padre fans. So it's fun to have fun with this kind of stuff.
It is. It is fun to have fun with some of this stuff, and we're going to go through like percentage chance of where they're at and how everything's going to play out here in a second. But Frank's been monitoring the trade deadline stuff on social media. We have a couple of updates that we've seen from Jeff Passan. We have a couple of updates from MLB Trade Rumors. Again, these are rumors, nothing more than that. We haven't seen any, close deals, any finalizations, but some things that are moving around on the rumor mill. And there was one name that was popped up earlier today that the Padres might be interested in, Frank.
Thank you. Yes, Jojo Romero is one of the guys that the Padres have been interested in as of late. The report came out about 10 hours ago, late last night, which is also interesting because St. Louis is going to be here over the course of the weekend. So take the team flight, get traded, don't have to go anywhere. Not too bad. Not a bad trade-off.
Get to stay in San Diego potentially. But again, when the Padres said, regardless if they trade Suarez, and again, it sounds like they're dangling the carrot of Robert Suarez, seeing if anybody bites. And we talked about that yesterday on that article that Andrew Marchand had with The Athletic about A.J. Preller at the deadline. They call him a fisherman. He's got like 1,000 lines in the water. He's just looking for somebody to bite. He's just looking for someone to bite. And who knows? There might be teams that get desperate that might throw you a lot for Robert Suarez, and it's a deal that you have to go out there and make. So we'll see how that plays out. Honestly, like at this point, I don't think it's likely that the Padres trade Dylan Cease or Robert Suarez.
I think it's a lot more likely that they trade Cease. I don't know if Suarez is going to be the guy to go. He should, based off of contract and what's going on with that, but I don't think he's going to be the one to go. If one of the two has to go, I believe it's going to be Cease.
Do you think either of them have more than a 50% chance of getting sent away?
Cease.
No, do you think Cease? You think right now? I'm not saying pick between the two, but
You think
it's 60-40. Cease is gone.
I think Cease has an above 50% chance of being traded.
55.
Yes.
57.
What, we're going to just go up in one increments now?
That was 2.
No, I know it was
55 plus
2
2 is 57.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
I didn't realize that.
I think it's at 45, 55. He gets traded. I think the Padres are going to need something back that's big in order for them to deal pitching at the deadline. We talked about it yesterday. You mentioned it yesterday. They got to be able to flip something back.
Yeah.
To make it work, and they still have to replace him in the starting rotation. Yep. And there's a lot of pitchers that have been battling for starting spots and have been pitching in starting spots that other teams are interested in. Bergert's one of those guys last night that, again, looked really good that you would like to see in the future in San Diego, but might be the difference between you getting a catcher or a left fielder and not getting one. So there's different ways to be able to get the roster that you need. And so, to me, I still don't think it's going to be a high percentage chance. That doesn't mean it's not going to happen, but there's got to be a lot of moving parts if they end up doing a Dylan Cease trade or Robert Suarez trade or whatever. And they still want to upgrade their bullpen. What was the other report that you got today?
Before I get to that, you also have to remember you don't have to go too crazy on the starting pitcher market because you have Michael King coming back at some point over the course of this season. And you also don't have to think of a long-term replacement because you're going to have Joe Musgrove coming back. So those are going to be 2 starting pitching holes that, at least for long-term, are going to be filled. But to that report from about 15 minutes ago, Mark Feinsand saying the Guardians are, quote, trying to move both Stephen Kwan and Shane Bieber. Bieber made his 4th rehab start on Tuesday, striking out 7 with no walks over 4 innings. He is returning from April 2024 Tommy John surgery and has a $16 million player option, $4 million buyout for 2026. So he could, if he gets traded, opt in, and that could be an extra year of Shane Bieber.
Jeff Passan reporting a couple minutes. The Angels are acquiring former Padre right-handed reliever Luis Garcia in a trade for the Nationals. Does that move you at all?
Wasn't he an Angel?
He was. He's going back.
Oh, well, that's good for him.
As part of the deal, left-handed reliever Andrew Chafin is also going to the Halos. Are they buying right now? Or
Fun for them.
Is that a huge move?
I mean, it can be. You can see it as that. You can see it as they think they do have an outside chance at a wild card spot.
4 games out, tied with KC, behind Cleveland, behind Tampa, behind Texas, and Seattle's got that final spot.
I mean, there comes a point where if you are a fringe team, you kind of have to go for it at some point. You can't just sell every single time you get a couple games out of a wild card spot. You got to take the jump at some point.
Buyers without Ohtani, sellers with Ohtani.
Well, you know.
Hey, it works like that.
These things happen. Ken Rosenthal, literally a minute ago, Nats are also acquiring first baseman Sam Brown from the Angels for left-handed pitcher Jake Elder in the Chapman Garcia deal.
Bob Nightingale saying the Angels are officially going for it. They're buyers. All right, good for them.
There you go. Good on them.
Well, hopefully they get above 500 so the Padres can improve their record against teams above 500. That's the latest on terms of deals right there. Anything else that we got out there?
Not that I am seeing right now, other than the fact that Trevor Story just did a solo home run in Minnesota right now. There's nothing really much else going on at the moment.
The other one that I mentioned earlier that I thought was very interesting, and they're not there yet, but Jeff Passan 20 minutes ago, while the Houston Astros have interest in Minnesota Twins shortstop Carlos Correa, who was not in the starting lineup today, by the way. Right? That is correct?
Correa was not in the lineup today.
Lineup. I doubt that they end up trading him today, but who knows? While the Astros have interest in Minnesota Twins shortstop Carlos Correa, and there has been dialogue on a potential trade, the sides are far apart at the moment, and no deal is close. Sources tell ESPN. So that's very interesting. That was the latest. Again, I do want to get to some of the numbers here in terms of like where the Padres are at standings-wise. We'll kind of push that back a little bit. All you need to know right now is the Padres, as of yesterday after beating the New York Mets, have what I think is, and hang on real quick, they have a 78% chance of making the postseason according to the playoff status website. They have a 22% chance of not making the playoffs. And the thing that's interesting now is they do have a division winner spot in control. They're in control of their own destiny for a division winner 3 seed at this point in time, which I think is very interesting.
Which is always great. You never, especially at the end of July going into August, you want to at least have some semblance of control of your own destiny. So
that has to be with obviously they play the Dodgers 7 more times or whatever it is. They'd obviously have to do a lot of
6.
damage against the Dodgers in those 2 series that are going to be coming up here in the next couple of weeks. 4% chance to have the number 1 seed, do not control their destiny in that. 8% chance getting the 2 seed, 9% chance getting the 3, 14% chance getting the 4, 22 to get the 5, 21 to get the 6. They don't even have a full complete team yet, obviously, with the trade deadline, so we'll see what happens.
That's interesting. They're more likely to get the 5 than the 6, statistically.
It probably has to do with tie-breaking scenarios with the other teams around them.
Yeah, true.
I mean, if they're competing like, and it probably plays into the fact of, who's got the tiebreaker right now between the Phillies and the Mets.
Which is another big key, because if you win this game today and if you do sweep the Mets, the best you can do is tie the season series when they go back to go to Flushing in September.
If they got swept, they win 1 game in New York, then they win the tiebreaker over the Mets, and that could be the difference between hosting a 3-game wild card series or having to go back to New York for a 3-game wild card series, or even more so, maybe making the playoffs and not making the playoffs. You want to try to get as many of those as possible. We got to try to get to got a couple minutes here. So just to look at the teams you're competing with, right? Like, you currently have the season series record against the Milwaukee Brewers.
Yes, and you still have a series.
You get to play them here.
Yeah, they come here for the last homestand.
So if you win 1 game against Milwaukee, you split minimum. So winning 2 games against Milwaukee would be a huge deal for them. That's the number 1 team in the National League right now. The Dodgers, you don't, because they dominated in the first part of the season. You currently are up 2-0 on the Mets. You split with Chicago. You split with Philly. And you got to take care of business against Cincinnati when they come to town.
Yes.
And you split with St. Louis, who you're going to see again for the next 3 days. And you currently have a lead over the Giants. And again, looking at the standings, the Cardinals are selling. So to me, like, I don't even have to worry about I don't even think you need to worry about the Cardinals. They have you want to play the run differential game? -7 on the run differential.
Yeah, and that would mean, again, it's still looking at it. The last I saw, it's only positive run differentials in the playoffs, correct? And almost exclusively negatives out of the postseason.
Correct. It's almost in order. The only flip is the Giants have a +6 run differential and the Cardinals have -7. Otherwise, it would be all positive, all negative.
See, Ben's not that crazy.
No, I believe it. I mean, the logic is
It
it's like
means something.
if you're winning more games than you're losing, you're more likely going to have a better run differential than anything else. And it really shows the underlying deals. That's why they use it for expected win-loss. So you look at the Padres again, I think you could cross St. Louis off the list, and you're competing with Cincinnati and you're competing with the Giants for the final wild card spot. And the Giants are in a free fall right now.
Yeah.
I mean, they lost 5 straight. They've lost 11 out of the last 13. They haven't been really good with Rafael Devers. And by the way, like we said, Jim Bowden already said they won the trade deadline with Rafael Devers.
Well, there you go.
That's aging so well right now.
Speaking of another trade, we saw during our first segment, the Braves had acquired Tyler Kinley from the Colorado Rockies. We know the return now, exchange for minor league right-handed pitcher Austin Smith, and to make room on the 40-man roster, old friend Enyel De Los Santos has been DFA'd.
Enyel, back on the market. Bring him. No, don't bring him.
Bring him home to San Antonio.
We got a lot of updates from Buster Only yesterday on Gwynn and Chris, some that are still relatively relevant at this point in time. When we come back, we're going to hear what Buster Only had to say on Gwynn and Chris, and then in the 11 o'clock hour again, diving in on more trade deadline news. Things are starting to move a little bit. We're starting to see a lot more tweets from Jeff Passan, and we know that he doesn't tweet a lot. And when he tweets, something usually is very important that he is tweeting out. So we'll keep you updated on what they are saying today. So you don't need to, you can focus on your work. Just listen to us. Stay tuned while you're working. We'll tell you everything that's happening on social media. So you don't need to scroll on your phone and get distracted. Try to crank out some more work here. And on a nice little Wednesday afternoon before you're heading down to the ballpark, we'll keep you updated on everything going on in Major League Baseball. We'll hear from Buster Only when we come back. Braden Surprenant Show rolls on from the Loft, live at Petco Park on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97 through the Fan. Welcome back to the Braden Surprenant Show, live from the Lofts and the third level of the Western Metal Supply Company building here at Petco Park. If you gates haven't opened yet, they usually open around the 11 o'clock hour or so, and when they do, come up to the Loft. Bar's ready to go. Great views of the ballpark and downtown. It's a great area to hang out before the game, especially if you get down here early. We're going to be here until about 12:05. Sam Levitt's going to take over for the Ecowater SoCal Padres pregame show at 12:10 to get you ready for Padres baseball between the New York Mets and the San Diego Padres. Padres trying to work a sweep today, but it's going to be Yu Darvish, who's 0-3 with a 9.18 ERA, going against Clay Holmes, who's 9-5 with a 3.40 ERA. Darvish had a couple of bad outings so far as he has come back from his injury. When they announced to be determined for this series for Tuesday and Wednesday, I thought it was very interesting to see if Yu Darvish was actually going to pitch in one of these games in the series, or if he had a setback or anything like that. I think that was a red flag that really popped up. He's still going to pitch. Pivetta gets bumped back a day as they used Bergert last night. Bergert did a great job for the San Diego Padres. He did a great job all season for the Padres, but it would be nice to have a bounce back at a Yu Darvish for a couple of reasons. One, obviously you want to win the game, but the Padres are going to need Yu Darvish in the second half of the season, the post-deadline half, and really into the playoffs. They're going to need a good and healthy Yu Darvish, and we haven't really seen that yet. No,
there's got to be a point where for Darvish, it's got to turn around. And you'd have to feel that, especially getting a day off, this is the Padres giving him an opportunity to get this turned around as quickly as he possibly can and get into some effective pitching mode that they can use. And again, this is a real test. The Mets, even though the way you've seen them play over the last couple of nights, it's not a pushover team. They're fighting for the division lead in the NL East. So this is a contending team that he is really going to have to try to put it together against here tonight. And a guy who has only thrown over 70 pitches once since he's returned.
And a team that you might see in the postseason,
yeah.
Right? I mean, like we said, a contending team. You might see him in New York in October. You might see him here in October. You don't know if you're going to see him at some point in time, but you look at the standings that we've talked about multiple times already today. It's getting very cut and dry and very, kind of a clear picture in the National League. Another week and a half goes by. If the Giants continue to scuffle and the Reds come back down to earth, all of a sudden, with the Padres having a decent lead in the standings, it might not be us trying to figure out who are the teams in the National League. It's just going to be a seeding portion at that point in time, which would be a lot better for Padres fans to know you've secured a playoff spot relatively early, and then you go and you're just trying to track down the Dodgers. That would be best case scenario. Obviously, we could see what's going on. We'll see what happens in the next couple of weeks or so. We're going to get to Buster Olney and what he said on Gwynn and Chris. But before that, there's a couple things from Mark Feinsand from MLB.com that he put out. 31 minutes ago, as you mentioned before, Guardians are trying to move Stephen Kwan and Shane Bieber. Bieber made his fourth rehab start on Tuesday, striking out 7, no walks in 4 innings. Segment. I know. That's why I'm reiterating it. We have every 15 minutes, Frank, we got a brand new audience. Returning from April 2024, Tommy John has $16 million player option and a $4 million buyout for 2026. That's an interesting development, obviously, with the Guardians, like we talked about earlier. And the Shane Bieber thing's interesting because the Padres have been linked to him in years past. But, coming off of Tommy John surgery, is he worth a $16 million player option? It's an interesting conversation to have, something to be on the lookout for. And then 4 minutes ago, which Frank did not read because it happened after Frank read his last update. And this is the question I asked. What are the Angels really like? What are they doing? What are we doing here? Los Angeles or really Anaheim? Angels appear to be buyers, which likely takes Taylor Ward, Tyler Anderson, Kenley Jansen, and Luis Rengifo and others off the trade market if they were ever actually on it. The Angels are going for it, trying to get Mike Trout back to October for the first time since 2014. What are the Angels doing, Frank? What are the Angels doing? They're 4 games out of a wild card spot. Okay, that's fine. We can't complain about that because the Padres are 4 games out of the division, so I can't sit here and go, the Padres are close and competing for the division and then say the Angels are not. But the Angels have 4 teams in front of them before you get to the final wild card spot of the Seattle Mariners, who they're 4 games behind. I can't believe that they think it's like, hey, maybe we've got a chance to get Mike Trout to the playoffs right now. Run differential game, -63 on the run differential.
Unless they know something about Trout that we don't.
Even if he comes back.
Maybe Trout gave him an ultimatum, said, listen, I want to stay here, but you got to give me a shot here. You got to give me a shot to do it here. And if you pass this one up, I'm sorry, I got to go. It's like there has to be something.
They have the worst farm system in Major League Baseball.
Yeah,
I mean,
no,
they got
I get it.
nothing going for them right now.
But that's really the only thing that makes sense is that Trout lit a fire under somebody up there to say, get me back to the postseason, especially if they're naming that as a reason why they're doing it. He had to have said something like, this is it here, guys. We got to do this or we got to part ways, even though I don't want to.
And they knew that Ohtani was not going to re-sign with them after the fact, and they decided to keep him for the extra dollars of people showing up to watch him play, which wasn't even that kid. But at that point, after the deadline, it's not like they had sellout crowds for Ohtani anymore. No. I mean, they knew he wasn't going to be there much longer, so they decided to take ticket sales and inside marketing and all that stuff for 2 months instead of trading Ohtani for potentially. I mean, we saw that rumor that, post that the Padres dangled Jackson Merrill in a potential deal with Ohtani. I mean, think about where Jackson Merrill would be in the outfield right now. I mean, Padres fans don't want to think about this, but if you're the Angels right now, Jackson Merrill and Mike Trout in the outfield is a little bit different in 2025, 2026, 2027 than what their current situation is. And now it's like, oh, yeah, we're going to go for it. It just doesn't make any sense. They just – and the thing is you can't even blame Perry Miezon because it's got a lot of Artie Moreno written all over the Los Angeles Angels.
I think Jackson Merrill will probably be in Disneyland at this point.
He would hate being up there right now.
From about 15 minutes ago from Bob Nightingale, Eugenio Suarez, remember we mentioned it during the show yesterday that he was taken out of the game. I believe it was on Monday after getting hit in the hand. He's showing no ill effects from that. Getting hit in the wrist on Monday by driving a ball deep to left field in his first at bat in his last game with the Arizona Diamondbacks. And that is a Bob Nightingale quote, in his last game as an Arizona Diamondback.
Interesting. Last game, they said. Where's he going to go?
I
saw this thing that was like, it's going to be a battle between the Brewers and the Phillies, and whoever can give up more pitching is going to get him. Cincinnati's interested. I'd like to see him be a Mariner, so I don't have to worry about Eugenio Suarez at all.
Honestly, I think it'll probably be Milwaukee. I don't see Philadelphia getting him. I really don't.
How many more bullets can the Diamondbacks dodge with Suarez getting hit in the hand and wrist area? I mean, how many more? I mean, they're playing with fire with him right now, having him continually roll out there and hope he doesn't get hit by a pitch on the hand. Twice, an all-star game, and then, what was that, 2 days ago?
Yeah, on Monday. You got to audition him somehow. But then how much auditioning do you need to do for a guy like Eugenio Suarez?
They know what they got.
Like, I understand everyone in New York made a big deal about it last week when Mark Vientos played first base after Pete Alonso sat out for the first time in about 2 years. Everyone in New York was like, it's a pretty good time to remind everybody that Mark Vientos plays first base. So you don't need to, but with that, you don't need to audition Eugenio Suarez like that.
You know what you got.
Exactly. You know what you're getting.
All right, let's check back into the Padres. Buster Olney for ESPN was on with Gwynn and Chris yesterday. A lot of this stuff is still very much relevant when it comes to the San Diego Padres, especially with potential pieces they can sell and who they might be able to go get at the trade deadline. Some of the reports that Buster Olney had. The first thing that we want to play, there's only two clips that we want to play. One is about what is the latest on Dylan Cease. Gwynn and Chris asked Buster Olney yesterday about this. This is what Buster Olney had on Dylan Cease.
Yeah, major league controllable players.
Yeah,
who can help them right away. I agree, Chris, with what you're just saying. You didn't know if the Padres were necessarily going for prospects. They're not. They're in a win-now window. They have an older team, generally speaking, with a rotation that's got to turn over in the next couple of years, and they need assets that can help them right now. They can't wait. And so, based on my conversations with other teams, what they're telling me is, and I'm just pulling names out of the air, okay? I'm not saying that the Padres are interested in these guys. Luis Angel Acuna of the Mets, Brett Beatty of the Mets, Mark Vientos of the Mets. Those type of guys who would be under team control for a few years. The issue with Cease is that while he is generally regarded as a high-end starting pitcher because he throws really hard, he misses bats. You guys know better than I do. It hasn't been a great year for him.
No.
He hasn't been dominant. And the perception of other teams is that the Padres want to get paid in return. We're looking for a return that reflects him as a frontline, number one type starter versus what we've seen this year. And that, and I think other teams are wondering if we get closer to the deadline, will the Padres blink and come down a little bit, or will there be a team that'll blink and say, yes, we're desperate because the starting pitching market is so thin. We're desperate to pay the Padres what they're looking for. But they're looking for guys who can help them this year.
That's very interesting, obviously. I mean, some of those names, obviously, from the Mets, I can't imagine the Mets being a team that would make a trade like that. But, I mean, that's what they're looking for. And the thing is with A.J. Preller, we talked about it yesterday, guy's the fisherman. He's going to go out there and just throw some bait out and see who nibbles a little bit and who's going to panic and jump on the line. And from that, it's an interesting piece to have if you're the San Diego Padres, because especially with starting pitching, like, to me, when you look at the value, like, he's very similar to a Luis Robert Jr. in a sense that he's being dangled as a player of, this is what this guy could be because this is what he used to be, which is obviously not the case with, Luis Robert Jr., right? I mean, Luis Robert Jr. has not played to that level. And the thing with Dylan Cease is the difference is when it comes to starting pitching is so valuable in the postseason that teams, I think, are willing to take the risk that we can fix this guy, which, by the way, Ruben Niebla is one of the best pitching coaches in Major League Baseball. And if he's not getting better with Ruben Niebla, I mean, I don't know how much better it's going to be for somebody else for this particular case. But if you're the Padres, you might as well throw the bait out there and see if somebody gets desperate and see if somebody blinks, and you might, be able to solve a lot of problems by just trading away Dylan Cease.
And again, what Buster Olney was saying, those guys, those names that he was throwing out were just names as
Correct.
Like the caliber of player that you would be looking for in a trade for Dylan Cease. But was it 2022 was his year? I'm trying to pull his stats up here. 2020 in the world.
You're talking about Cease?
Yeah, there it is.
His last year in Chicago was
Yeah,
not
there it
good.
is.
His second to last year in Chicago was great.
2022, he went 14-8 with a 2.20 ERA at 32 starts. That is seeming like a very, very, very long time ago for Dylan Cease.
Well,
and he has not approached anything remotely near that. His ERA has steadily gone up every single year since. So, I mean, it is. I think we have seen the best of Dylan Cease, and I believe it was 4 years ago.
I remember that was the argument on trading for Dylan Cease last year was because remember, you looked at that number and it was great, and then the next year in 2023 is where he had one of his worst seasons in a White Sox uniform, and it was which one is the anomaly? And then he had a pretty decent year in 2024. Everybody remembers the playoffs. But again, if he's supposed to be a front of a rotation guy, 14-11 with a 3.47 ERA is not necessarily a number one, and it's really not a number two. His 33 starts is very impressive. I mean, he does post every 5 days, which is always great. But that to me is more like a 3 or a 4. Now, he's not worth the amount of money that somebody might pay him, especially with Scott Boras being his agent. And so, I think a lot of teams are just going to be a little hesitant. I don't know how many are going to be the ones that are going to blink and give up more than they should for a guy like Dylan Cease. I think if he ends up getting traded, the price will come down a little bit, and we'll see what the Padres can do with kind of dangling him out there. But I think the one thing's for certain, he's not going to be a Padre in 2026. He's just not.
No, I don't think so. We spoke about this with a friend of the show, Annie Heilbrunn, before in the press box, that this is a guy who is going to draw a lot of value. And right now, with the values being so high, the closer and closer you get to the closer and closer you get to the deadline, those values are going to drop, because now all of a sudden the guy on top, I'm losing my words here. I know what I'm trying to say. It's the momentum in the trade swings. You
the
know
way
what
the
I mean?
market plays.
Yeah, the way the market plays. So the seller becomes the buyer, buyer becomes the seller. That's what I basically mean.
Interesting nugget in Kevin Acey's daily newsletter that we're going to get to when it comes to the high price of Dylan Cease. We're going to talk about that to start the 11 o'clock hour and take a deeper dive in the trade rumors of the upcoming trade deadline. He's Frank Marchese. I'm Braden Surprenant. Braden Surprenant Show rolls on live from the Loft at Petco Park on 97.3 The Fan. Braden Surprenant Show live and local each and every day from 10 to 2. Today, a little bit of a shortened show. We got Padres baseball coming up, and we got a lot of trade deadline news to talk about today. Frank Marchese and I are live at the Loft. Gates should be opening up very shortly, and if you're here at the Padre game, want to come up, hang out with us, we'll be here until the noon hour, and then Sam Levitt's going to take over at 12:10 for the Ecowater SoCal Padres pregame show. We're going to take a deeper dive into the trade deadline here as we look at what the latest rumors are around Major League Baseball. And before we get to that, I do want to mention something that popped up in Kevin Acey's daily newsletter. Mm-hmm. And it's very interesting, but at the same time, it's expected. I don't know if it's necessarily breaking news, but this is why, this is the piece of information that I get, or I usually reference when somebody asks me, like, what do you think the Padres are going to do at the deadline? And my answer every time is, I have no idea, because trying to guess what A.J. Preller is going to do at the deadline is a fool's errand. It really is. So here is part of the daily newsletter that Kevin Acey puts out. If you don't subscribe to it, it's free. It's great. He puts a lot of great info in there. This is what he said. The Padres have always maintained a high price for Dylan Cease to go along with what we've been talking about relatively for the last hour. Such a stance often changes in the final day or so before the deadline, which is 3 p.m. Pacific time tomorrow. There is also the possibility A.J. Preller makes a move or moves, quote, no one has forecast. It is aggressiveness and creativity that ownership is banking on, as they have determined they can't manage a big increase in a payroll that already ranks ninth in the major leagues. Regardless, they can't be confident after the team's first 4-game winning streak since early May that they are adding to a legitimate contender. What I get out of that is there is a possibility Preller makes a move or moves no one has forecast. To me, that is almost more likely to happen than any of the moves or rumors that have been out there for the last 2.5 months about who the Padres are interested in. Let's think about some of the moves that the Padres have made over the past. It's a bunch of names that you didn't even know were available. I think the biggest one to me...
Josh Hader.
Hey, Josh Hader. I mean, and some of them have worked out, and some of them have not worked out, right? Like the Adam Frazier deal. That was not something that you thought was going to happen. It didn't make any sense. The fit wasn't there. It was kind of force fit, got an extra bat, didn't work out. It's one of those moves, though, too. He wasn't on anybody's radar. The biggest one to me, like the biggest shock I've ever had with an A.J. Preller move, actually was with him hiring a manager. When they hired Bob Melvin, and, you can go to the details if it was Preller hiring him or Peter Seidler hiring him or anything like that. When Bob Melvin became the manager of the San Diego Padres, I remember getting that information going like, I'm sorry, isn't he the current manager of the Athletics? How did this happen? I didn't know he was a candidate. They're interviewing all these candidates, the usuals, the Joe Girardis that always get, the Ozzie Guillens, all the same guys that haven't managed in a long time that constantly are getting interviewed for managerial jobs. And then it was like, oh, the Padres have hired Bob Melvin. You're like, when did they have an interview? When did this ever happen? This happens all the time with A.J. Preller. So every time somebody goes like, what do you think the Padres are going to do? I go, I have no freaking clue, because it could be anything. They could just be like, you know what? You can see breaking news. Padres acquire Ronald Acuna Jr. It'd be the most bizarre trade ever, and you'd be like, you know what? Okay, all right. Yeah, that's kind of up Preller's alley. And a list of all these players that he sends away. And you're like, I didn't know that guy was available. It makes no sense. So it's crazy to me, like potential moves that they might make. And that's what makes this so exciting at the trade deadline for Padres fans. It's nothing is expected. It's going to be a big splash, usually. It's going to be a lot of moving parts. The team is like going to be drastically changed by Friday, it seems like. And the most fun part about it is you're just scrolling through social media trying to figure out who it might be, who they might be linked to, and all of a sudden it's like Padres are linked to everybody, and including players that you didn't even know were available.
Yeah, and right now it's Stephen Kwan as the Padres, Reds, in addition to the Dodgers, this is from John Heyman, Padres and Reds, in addition to the Dodgers, parentheses, and Otters, that is a quote, are in on the Stephen Kwan Derby. Kwan with Luis Ariz would be quite the interesting combo. I want to see who the Otters are that are trying to get this. It genuinely says, and Otters.
Otters. Yeah, it says Otters. Like from the show at SeaWorld? Or like the otter. What was that show called? I forget what that show was called. They had like a walrus. They had like a walrus and a seal, and they had an otter. And every time the otter ran out there, you had to yell otter, 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 otter. Is that Otter like trying to make some deals right now with Stephen Kwan? You know what I'm talking about. Jon
Heyman is officially back on Arson Judge watch right now.
Oh, great. Poor Heyman, dude. Guy's older. He's like, he has typos. We get it.
It's fun, though.
The Kwan thing is interesting, but to me, like, Stephen Kwan is an addition for the next couple of years, not this year.
Yeah.
He does help this year. But Stephen Kwan, Luis Ariz are relatively the same style of player. I think Kwan's better than Luis Ariz, like, overall. And so you get Kwan, you get the same kind of contribution as Ariz, but now you don't have to sign Ariz for $15 million at the end of the year. It's going to save you money in the long run. I don't mind that move, depending on what they would give up, but the fact that they're, again, you don't know where this is going to go. They're just, it's tire kicking season. And as Frank put in the chat, it's the leverage point, right?
Yeah.
So
that was the word I was looking for.
The sellers have the leverage right now, and it's going to flip to the buyers very shortly. Probably when you get to the 24-hour mark, it's going to start flipping. What else we got today on the trade deadline?
Right now from Mark Feinsand, this coming from 4 minutes ago, sources are saying, quote, things are moving on Johan Duran. The Twins could move their current closer today, not waiting for tomorrow. That could be done today. So this could be Johan Duran's final 5.5 innings as a Minnesota Twin.
If I'm Johan Duran,
it's Duran.
He goes Duran, and Jaron goes Duran.
Yes.
If I'm Johan Duran, I'm giving guys hugs like every 5 minutes. I mean, you might as well embrace it, right?
Yeah.
Like, we heard a story off air that we're not going to say on air about, like, players here having fun with the trade deadline. You might as well embrace the trade deadline for what it is, right?
Yeah.
Hector's got it. Seymour and Clyde show at SeaWorld with the otter.
Oh, there you go.
One was like a walrus, and the other one was a seal or something. I forget. I haven't been to SeaWorld forever. But anyway.
See a Navy SEAL?
Stop it. You had a Navy SEAL. You had a former Navy SEAL in the chat mad at you for doing the seal noises, thinking that's what they do.
Oh, come on.
He's like, we do not do that. I don't need that guy showing up.
I guess they don't balance the beach ball either.
Nope, that's not what they do in Coronado. That's definitely not what they do in Coronado. Taking that too far. So anyway, the leverage is going to change a little bit. So again, Johan Duran, to me, the relief pitching market is going to be, because everything's moving slow right now, the relief pitching market, that is a market that, from sources, from reports that we're getting, it's going to take one domino to fall, and it's going to be a flurry of moves when it comes to the relief pitching market. John Heyman, I see, has corrected his comment.
Yeah, John Heyman has either deleted the original tweet or has now edited the other tweet. He's listening to the show, clearly. So no more otters. It is others that are interested on Stephen Kwan.
So Seymour and Clyde are not looking to add Stephen Kwan to their show?
No.
Okay, well, it's worth a shot there with the otters. Arson Judge available?
Anything can happen. Anything can happen at the trade deadline.
All right. Coming from the piece from that we talked about to start this segment about there's a possibility Preller makes a move or moves no one has forecast. What is the craziest move, like name-wise, that Preller would make that is so out of the box, but at the same time be like, that is so AJ Preller? Mine would be Ronald Acuna Jr. To me, that would be the most, like, because again, it wouldn't make any sense.
Can you trade guys on the IL?
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
Oh, and I thought there was a restriction on it.
There's no rules against
I thought
that.
there was a restriction on it.
Shows up to your IL. But that would be like one of those moves like, oh, didn't know that guy was available.
I would say Alejandro Kirk That was
Toronto.
That was the first name that popped into my head. Is they somehow find a way to get Alejandro Kirk, and I know Adam just said in our ear they just extended him, but again, that kind of fits with the whole. Who would have thought this guy was available or this guy was going to move somewhere?
Alejandro Kirk's a good one too, because again, this is not people we think that might get traded to the Padres. This is
just the
we didn't know this guy
wall.
was available. I can't believe he just did that. But at the same time, AJ Preller's made so many of these insane moves that it's totally believable.
Yeah, I mean, Padres need a catcher.
They do.
It would fit.
It's a contender. I guess they could use the pitching up there in Toronto. They already acquired Sir Anthony Dominguez.
I'm going to look like a genius tomorrow if somehow Alejandro Kirk is a Padre tomorrow.
Do you think the Giants? You think the Giants trade Rafael Devers? Trade him away? You think?
Think they'll play left? You think he'll play left field? It was a fight for him to play first base.
I don't think they end up trading him. I mean, Alejandro Kirk. What about that's a good one in the chat. Padres, what if they reacquiring Mackenzie Gore?
That's one you wouldn't expect.
That'd be another crazy move that you would not expect. That I didn't know he was available. I've seen the rumors. I mean, the Cubs have checked in on Mackenzie Gore. With the Nationals, Mackenzie Gore is at the same point contract status wise as Juan Soto was when he was traded. Interesting stuff. I mean, can you imagine if they get Mackenzie Gore back?
That would be interesting. That would be really.
Do you win the trade, or now do you have to watch the other players that you sent for Gore, part of the Nats Padres trade?
Watch Boston Bateman shove in about 5 years.
Yeah, Padres acquired James Wood and Mackenzie Gore from the Nationals
for Leo DeVries, Ethan Salas, and Boston Bateman.
Hey, we'll just let the Nationals kind of keep some guys for a little bit and then go back and reacquire them.
It's just like the MLS. You put them on loan to Washington, and then you call them back.
They're basically just doing loans. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. We're going to continue our trade deadline coverage. We're going to talk more about this afternoon's game. He's Frank Marchese. I'm Braden Surprenant. Continuing on the Braden Surprenant Show when we come back. San Diego's number one sports station, 97 through the Fan. Welcome back to the Loft, Western Metal Supply Company building, getting ready for Padres baseball. San Diego Padres take on the New York Mets for the final time here at Petco Park in the regular season. Who knows if the Padres will take on the New York Mets in the postseason.
Stop it.
As of right now, if the season ended today, which it doesn't, they'd be playing in the playoffs.
Stop it.
I mean, great for you, Frank. Two
Stop
teams
it.
at the same time. It would not be great for Frank. Or for his health, for that matter. So
It wasn't great in 22. I don't see it being any better 3 years later.
I don't see that either.
I see it being worse, actually.
Correct. We're talking about the trade deadline, obviously. 97 to the fans. Coverage of the MLB Trade Deadline brought to you by Palomar Health, champions of healthcare, champions for you. We don't have time to play the Midday Sports Standoff today, but if you can take me down in sports trivia, maybe tomorrow. I don't know if we have time tomorrow either, to be honest with you, with all the trade deadline talk. Anytime that you can take me down in sports trivia, at least for the next couple of days, you'd be qualified for a chance to win our grand prize, a 2-night stay at Park MGM Las Vegas, 2 tickets to Motley Crue on September 19th, and a $100 gas card. Catch Motley Crue's Las Vegas residency at Dolby Live at Park MGM September 12th through October 3rd. Tickets at Ticketmaster.com. So we were talking about from Kevin Acey's newsletter, and this is why you can't predict what A.J. Preller's going to do, because he could do anything. And we're going to keep monitoring different trades. And in fact, the one is going to fit. The Angels have now officially announced their trade with the Washington Nationals. So they have acquired Luis Garcia and Andrew Chafin from Washington. So Luis Garcia back in an Angels uniform. I don't know how much of an upgrade that really is for the Angels.
It's minimal at best.
Luis Garcia is kind of a circus late in games. I wouldn't be super thrilled about that in general. We were talking about the piece from the newsletter today, and it read like this, and I think you could play off of it a little bit. There is also a possibility Preller makes a move or moves no one has forecast. So we threw out some ideas of what would be a crazy trade that you couldn't believe, but at the same time could believe A.J. Preller pulls off. So I said, acquiring Ronald Acuna Jr. would be crazy, right? It wouldn't make any sense. I don't think the Braves are selling at the deadline, right? I mean, a move that you didn't know that player was potentially available. Frank threw out Alejandro Kirk, which I think is a really good move, right? That's another one that would be I don't know. I can't believe this guy was available on a contending team. And then we had this one thrown out there.
Uh-oh.
And I think this one's very interesting. What happened?
Yohan Duran just hit a sack fly. He's coming to San Diego.
I mean, Jaron
It's on his
Durant.
way. Yeah.
Jaron Durant, did he hit off Yohan Durant?
That one. No, he did not. We were speaking about Yohan Duran a second ago. So.
Well, it is the same game. They're both playing in the
Yes,
same
they
game.
are.
So there you go. How about this? This would be a crazy one, right?
It's going in the poll right now on the YouTube chat.
They're going to put in the YouTube poll. If the Padres, let's say this, okay? Let me know what you think in the chat. Have you put it on there?
It is. It's already in the chat,
the
yes.
people in YouTube. Would you be willing to trade Leo DeVries and Ethan Salas to Baltimore for Gunnar Henderson and Adley Rutschman? Again, we're talking about moves that you wouldn't ever think would be available, right? Because Baltimore talked about the fact that they just want to get rid of rentals. Like, they don't want to get rid of those guys. You give your two best prospects at those positions for established young players at those positions. Now, there's a chance that Leo and Ethan could be better than Gunnar and Adley Rutschman, right? Adley Rutschman hasn't had that great of a year this year.
No.
He's been hurt for most of the time. Ethan Salas, I know he's been hurt for most of this season with the back, and it's not progressing. It's progressing slowly, not setbacks, but progressing slowly. But they're still super young players. Would you be willing to do that? Would Baltimore be willing to do that? I think it's an interesting case study. I mean, you'd be punting on the next couple of years, obviously. I'm sure your fan base wouldn't like it. Adley Rutschman is arbitration eligible until 2028. Gunnar Henderson is arbitration eligible next year through the 2028 season. So you'd have them for the prime years. You would have they would factor in to your window to win. you could theoretically extend them if that was the case, right? And they could be your future pieces. You know that they are established major leaguers now, still on the younger side. Gunnar Henderson's 24, Adley Rutschman's 27. It's an interesting topic of discussion.
This is a close one. It's going back and forth in the poll, too, which I love. One chatter brought up a good point is what need does Hendo fill? But did we not just talk most of yesterday about how good Fernando Tatis Jr. moving out of shortstop and Jackson Merrill moving out of shortstop have been in secondary positions that are brand new to them? Who's to say you can't move Hendo to left field? Who says you can't do that?
I mean, he could be your shortstop of the future. I mean, eventually Xander Bogaerts is going to move on. Xander's had a great year at shortstop defensively this year.
Right, but
you can tell the weight loss that he had over the offseason really worked out.
But you can throw Hendo in left field for this year, and then if you move like a Cronenworth in the offseason, then you move Bogaerts to second, you move Hendo back to short, and you find a left fielder. That is an option that you have if you were to make that trade. And, of course, Adley Rutschman slots right in to Elias Diaz's spot, hopefully, after these last couple of days, as your starting catcher.
You'd have the catcher position filled for the next 3 or 4 years. You could potentially extend him to a contract extension. Adley Rutschman, Oregon State guy, West Coast guy, back on the West Coast. Gunnar Henderson could be your future shortstop. You'd have to give him a contract extension too. But you essentially you would speed up the process of your future, right, with these teenagers. Now, the contrary to that is you keep DeVries and Salas in this particular, and again, anybody that's just tuning in, this is a
full-on hypothetical,
crazy move,
off
the wall move that AJ Preller's been known to just kind of make out of nowhere, right? So, like, when you talk about AJ Preller making moves to the deadline, he's usually making moves that you don't see coming, and a lot of analysts and insiders don't know it's coming, and the one that usually has it is Passan just says it's done.
Yep.
And he's usually the one that breaks the AJ Preller moves, right? So from that perspective, this is where this trade came about. Would you trade Ethan Salas and Leo DeVries for Gunnar Henderson and Adley Rutschman with Baltimore? That would be a over-the-top.
I just saw something in the chat, too, that said, who's to say that Leo can't play left? We're not saying that Leo can't play left. Leo's not helping you right now. Leo is not helping you win a World Series this year. He can if you trade for Gunnar Henderson and put him in left field. That's the point. It's not saying that Leo can't play left at some point in the future. It's if you're trying to win a World Series this year, Leo is not helping you win a World Series this year.
He's not helping you win a World Series the next 2 to 3 years. I mean, they said his estimated time of arrival could be 2026. He'd be, 19 years old? I mean, Ethan Salas isn't helping you for the next 2 or 3 years anyway. A little bit of a setback with an injury, which, again, he's slowly progressing. No setbacks from in the injury portion, but just, he hasn't played most of the year. He got hurt super early. I think your window gets extended a little bit with those two players.
I agree.
I think it goes, instead of it being maybe a 3-year window to win right now, maybe it extends to 6. Now, you'd have to hang on to some of those guys, but, your roster's loaded. It saves you money. Now, it doesn't help you out in the long-term future, but I still think with A.J. Preller's ability to reload the farm system, with his ability to find the best international free agents, I think he can replenish those guys quickly in the farm system, where you have a new Ethan Salas, Leo DeVries, and then they take over after, they start coming up right when you start to see Machado decline in his older years, Bogaerts decline in his older years. I think it's a very interesting deal. I think it's favorable way more to the Padres than it is for the Orioles.
100%.
I mean, the Orioles would be like, no thanks.
Yeah.
But that's an interesting move that could potentially make. That would be something that you would be willing to give up Leo DeVries for, in my opinion.
No, I would agree. And that is one of those trades that it's guaranteed to help you. It fills a spot that you need, that does come with a little bit of control. And that's also a trade that if you want to make it, if it was somehow on the table, that is something you're going to have to bite the bullet with Ethan Salas and Leo DeVries for. and I think it could benefit it.
East County Chris, still stoked. I heard Shane Smith and the Saints as bumper music. It's a good song, man. I like Shane Smith and the Saints. Might have to add some more of that stuff. The East County people probably like that a little bit more than everybody else.
Well, you know.
The fiddle and stuff like that. Hey. When we come back, we'll get you today's starting lineup. The Padres starting lineup is out. We'll preview a little bit more of this game, kind of update you on what happened in the Leagues Cup last night very briefly. Not a great night for San Diego FC. The first goal they gave up last night was such a crazy fluke of a goal that I've seen.
It was a wild finish, too. They scored 2 goals in the last 10 minutes to make it a lot closer than it was.
So not a great start to the Leagues Cup. San Diego FC will continue with a couple more games in the next 7 days in the Leagues Cup before they return to MLS action. And we will keep you updated on what's going on rumor-wise at the trade deadline. All coming up next, final segment, Braden Surprenant Show, live from the Loft at the Western Metal Supply Company building, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97 through the Fan. All right, final segment of the Braden Surprenant Show, live and local each and every day from 10 to 2. Ketchup guy's shaking his head at us. That was a funny bit, by the way. That was good. That caught me off. That was like an A.J. Preller trade at the deadline. Just catches you off guard. Just bang, Ketchup right there from friend of the show, Mike Crum.
Speaking of
Ketchup on the tacos.
Speaking of being surprised, 51 votes on this. We're going to end the poll right now. Ended 53-47 no to trading DeVries and Salas for Rutschman and Hendo.
The problem is you believe that, some of these guys are going to be the best ever, and you don't want to miss out on them turning into the best ever for somebody else, right? It's the fear of what they could potentially be more than anything else. You got to roll the dice, man, sometimes. You got to roll the dice sometimes. But I still think it's a very interesting topic of conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Our guy Nate Taylor's here. He's over there. He pointed in the chat. Almost brought a broom today for you. Well, I don't like pre-broom talk.
Yeah,
I gotta let it happen first.
Exactly. We gotta complete the sweep first, and then we make fun of me for the rest of the week. We do have a couple of things that came out from John Morosi not all that long ago.
Okay, what do we got?
The Dodgers are among the teams engaging on Twins relievers Johan Duran, Luis Vollen, and Griffin Jacks. Also, more Dodgers news. The Dodgers and Guardians have spoken about Shane Bieber. The former AL Cy Young winner is from Laguna Hills High School.
Are the Dodgers interested in these players? They try to drive the price up on the Padres.
Well,
remember that question that was asked in that article we talked about?
These things happen, man.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying. It's very interesting. This is going to be fun to watch. Today is the first day where it feels like it's starting to heat up a little bit on the market.
Yes. Absolutely.
I think so. It's starting to heat up a little bit on the market. So
can't get much hotter than tomorrow, though.
It's going to be red hot tomorrow. And it's going to happen during the roundtable tomorrow, right? It's just every move's going to happen during that hour on the roundtable, and Adam's going to be running back and forth and putting his phone up to get Ben's attention, to read the tweet, and he's just going to be all over the place. We're going to be like, we're going to have to need a monitor there.
So, guys, I've got this all figured out in case you're curious.
Yeah, I'd love to know, actually. Yeah.
So during the roundtable, we have a TV screen, like a monitor that has wheels on it. It goes on the floor so that everybody sitting in their chairs can see what the broadcast looks like. I've got it to mirror a screen, and I can type messages up there in 50 size font, and everybody will be able to see it. So I'll type up there, Jeff Passan, Yankees trade so-and-so to so-and-so for so-and-so, and I'll be able to put that up there. And so everybody in the panel can see it, and I'll be able to message you guys in real time with trade messages during the roundtable.
Everybody except Chris Ello, who's as blind as a bat, apparently.
Wow. Shots fired at Chris. Oh, my God. You're going to start a war with our shows here,
Chris
man.
And I had fun. Chris and I had fun all of last night sitting here watching my misery.
That is a low blow right there. That's what? That is him giving you S for the Mets jersey from a couple days ago. That was built up. I think that's cool, Adam. That's awesome. That's going to be sweet. I mean, if anybody missed what Adam,
man.
It's going to be great. This is going to be the best roundtable ever. A roundtable during the prime hours of the trade deadline, just keeping you updated. And why would you want to listen to us instead with all the local angles? I mean, how many times you tune in MLB Network during the trade deadline and you're trying to focus what's going on there, and it's just they go on these little tangents about other things that we don't care about here in San Diego. This is the place you need to be for the next, really, ever, if you're a Padres fan. But this is the place you need to be tuned into during the trade deadline. Nobody's going to keep you up to date.
Obviously, the Padres are at home and an off day. Tony Gwynn Jr. will be in studio live for the roundtable as well.
Wow, we got a Tony Gwynn Jr. sighting tomorrow.
That might be the biggest breaking news right there.
We have T. Gwynn Jr. on the broadcast. It's going to be during the trade deadline. It's going to be must-watch on YouTube, must-listen to on the radio. It's going to be great. I'm looking forward to it tomorrow. We're going to be eating pizza. I had some wings yesterday for National Wing Day. Over at Pitchers.
It's kind of so it's not a wingy Wednesday.
We talked about that yesterday. It just happened to fall on. To me, if you're going to make a National Anything Day and it involves wings, you should probably change it every year so it's on a Wednesday.
Exactly.
I don't think people are going to go back and be like, oh, man, I thought National Wing Day was July 29th. I don't think anybody's going to remember.
No, it needs to be a wingy Wednesday.
So it led to me having wings last night at Pitchers. And while I was at Pitchers last night, I'm sitting there, and I texted you this last night.
Yes.
This guy had no idea I was there. But I heard him bring up our show in conversation with the guy he was with. And so my ears perk up, and I'm like, okay, I got to listen to what this guy's got to say. He had to explain the foul situation that we have. Explain the foul. So he's like, oh, have you ever heard of the Braden Surprenant show? The guy's like, no. What's foul on that guy, by the way? Ding him with a foul. And he was like, well, they have this thing where it's like, if you say something he disagrees with or something that you don't like, he's like, he gets you with a foul. And what they do is they play the sounder from Fletch, and he goes on explaining Fletch. He draws the foul. There it is. That's a foul on the guy that's never heard our show before. Foul on him for that. Last night at Pitchers. You know who you were. And the guy mightn't be tuned in right now talking about the foul. Your buddy got a foul last night for not knowing what that was. But I'm glad he enjoys it. I think the fouls are hilarious. I'm glad.
No, it is great. We do have a couple of bits of breaking news, one from baseball and actually one that revolves around the NBA. Jays are heavy on the market. This is from John Heyman. The Blue Jays are heavy in on the market for relievers. Phillies, Mets, Yankees, Red Sox, Dodgers, Rangers, Mariners, just name the whole league, are all looking for relievers. Interesting situation with 8 to 10 great back-end relievers available, depending if Suarez and Pete Fairbanks of the Rays, are actually available.
Robert Suarez, Alejandro Kirk. Yeah. Frank called it first.
There you go.
Frank had it first.
He draws the foul.
What foul?
I'm calling a foul on Frank here, guys.
Foul on Frank.
A tweet that says a team is, considering a player is not breaking news.
It's not.
Breaking news is when a trade actually happens, Frank.
Breaking news is also John Morosi saying the Padres are looking for left fielders and catchers, which is what everyone has been saying for the last month and a half.
Foul.
But either way,
with the foul.
This one's from the NBA, actually.
He draws the foul.
What was that one for?
You just called for it, so I gave it to you. That's all.
There you go. Yeah. You're going to foul out here soon.
This good. There's only 20 minutes left. This one's from the NBA. Former NBA star Gilbert Arenas and suspected Israeli crime figure were arrested today on a federal indictment. Allegedly, they operated an illegal gambling business in which high-stake poker games were being played at an Encino mansion that Gilbert Arenas owned.
Wow.
So Gilbert Arenas is in some federal trouble as of 10 minutes ago from Chris Haynes, who's a senior NBA insider.
A foul is the least of his troubles right now.
No, I don't think foul is. I don't think foul covers the Gilbert Arenas situation.
Foul with an NBA news during the trade deadline. Woods would have handed out a foul. They would have handed you a foul for that.
I'll just leave now then. Cool.
All right, what do we got lineup-wise today as we get you ready for Padres baseball? What are the New York Mets throwing out there to try to get swept today? They got the full crew in there? Everybody,
they got 9 guys. I know that. They got one at each position.
All the Mets fans were complaining that this guy's hurt, season's over, we're going to lose 45 straight. Maybe that was just one Mets fan.
Yeah, no, that was one very loudmouth Met fan in New York who's putting on an act for people who still haven't figured out that he's acting yet. The Met lineup tonight is going to be leading off left fielder Brandon Nimmo, DHing Mark Vientos batting second, Francisco Lindor at short batting third, Alonso at first batting fourth, Jeff McNeil in right field batting fifth, Francisco Alvarez catching batting sixth, seventh is Ronnie Mauricio at third base, Brett Beatty at second batting eighth, and Tyrone Taylor in center field. That means no Juan Soto after getting taken out of the game last night. Also saw Francisco Lindor and Pete Alonso, I believe it was since May, have the lowest batting averages combined in baseball.
Starting pitcher today?
Clay Holmes.
Clay Holmes taking on a Padres lineup as follows. Leading off and playing right field, Fernando Tatis Jr. Batting second, and at first base, Luis Ariz. Manny bats third and plays third. He's been on a tear as of late. Jackson Merrill bats fourth and plays center field. The designated hitter today is Xander Bogaerts. He bats fifth. Jake Cronenworth bats sixth and plays second base. Jose Iglesias will get to start at shortstop for Xander and bat seventh. Batting eighth and in left field, Gavin Sheets. That's interesting. Move Gavin Sheets down a couple of more spots. And then batting ninth and catching is Martin Maldonado.
And obviously, I mean, I'm sure people are going to be like, well, why is Elias Diaz not playing today? He's been so hot over these last couple of days. Catchers do not play day games after night games. So
that's one of the things.
That's Maldonado. That's why Maldonado's in tonight.
Who's been catching Darvish? Has it been Diaz?
I don't know. I figured I can't either.
That's always part of their equation, too.
Going off. But also, I would have to say it's more to do with the day game after a night game situation.
I need to see you, Darvish, have a way better outing today. I mean, way better outing.
Yeah, he does. He really needs to show that he is at least – I don't say yes. I wouldn't say necessarily that he even has to win this game. I need to see something that shows some sort of life and some sort of reason to get excited about seeing him pitching down the stretch and getting into a playoff run. I need to see you,
Darvish, get deeper into the. It'd be nice for him to complete 5 innings, and it'd be nice for him to give up less than 4 runs.
Yeah.
If he goes 5 innings today and gives up 3 runs, I'll take that right now to you, Darvish, especially with the last outing that he had in St. Louis. We talked about that last week. It was an outing you can't afford to have if you're the San Diego Padres. You can't have a starting pitcher, pitch like that in down the stretch. You can't have him pitch like that in the postseason. And I think it's going to be it's an interesting scenario. Does a bad Yu Darvish outing lead to the Padres even more so trying to acquire a starting pitcher? Maybe does a bad Yu Darvish outing prevent them from maybe trading Dylan Cease? I mean, there's a lot of kind of what-if questions, but obviously some things that need to be discussed. Yu Darvish needs to have a good outing today for the San Diego Padres.
I want to see him just at least get over 70 pitches for the second time. This is we're going on now 5 starts here. He's only made it past 70 pitches once.
And I don't know if he's still on a pitch count or not. He probably isn't. At this point in time,
at this point, you're going to have to try to figure it out at some point to get some length out of the guy.
There we go. Rod's got his New York Mets baseball cards. He's going to spread out all over the place.
I get some of them signed too. That's Braden.
Thank you.
I got mine here.
Got the cards.
There we go. Let's see.
Wow.
We're going to save for him. Those are not going to go.
Oh, look at this guy.
Look at that.
You
Thank
legend.
You,
Look at this guy.
Here, this is for you and Nate. There you go. You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Wow, Keith Hernandez. How about that?
I got a better gift.
What'd you get?
I got a $20 gift certificate to Mona Lisa's.
Mona Lisa's.
Let's go.
Hey, what's going on? How you doing?
San Diego.
Nice to meet you, Steve.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you. All right, so back to the conversation we were having. Yu Darvish needs to have a good outing. Have you been to Mona Lisa's?
I have been to Mona Lisa's many times.
I was going to pull your Italian card if you haven't been to Mona Lisa's.
No, I have been to Mona Lisa's many a time.
Okay. All right. Again, we're taking you up to noon today. We're live here at the Loft on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Trying to get you as many updates on the trade deadline as possible. Thanks again for tuning in. And this is going to be the place to be for you Padres fans in the next 24 hours and probably just over 24 hours with Padres baseball as well as trade deadline coverage as we see what the Padres potentially do.
I just really quick, I just saw in the chat, somebody said, don't rush you at his age. He needs time to move at his own pace. That's what April through June was for.
Correct.
If he's back, if he's in the rotation, if he is on the major league field, he has to be ready. That's what the first 3 months of the season were for, were to get him ready at his own pace to come back from whatever was ailing him. He has to be ready now, especially for this stretch.
We got a passing bomb.
Uh-oh. Is this a legit breaking news?
This is a legit passing tweet. Cincinnati Reds just got better.
Oh, wow. The Cincinnati Reds are acquiring third baseman.
This is breaking news from 97.3 The Fan.
Take it away, Frank.
Breaking news. The Cincinnati Reds are acquiring third baseman Brian Hayes in a trade with the Pittsburgh Pirates, sources tell ESPN. Hayes is among the best defensive players in baseball and has 5 years of club control beyond this season. That's right. He signed an extension last year, did he not?
He did.
Yep.
Brian Hayes is under contract until 2030, where he has a club option for $12 million. Brian Hayes, 28 and a half years old. He's making $7 million this year, $7 million next year, $7 million in 2027, bumps up to $8 million in 2028, and $8 million in 2029, and a $12 million club option now in Cincinnati. That's a pretty big pickup for the Cincinnati Reds. Building for the future, building for this year. And if you're the Pittsburgh Pirates now, I mean, what's stopping you from just selling everybody on your team?
Yeah, at this point especially. And you got to remember, you still have to play Cincinnati. They are coming here at the beginning of September.
Yes.
So that is something you are going to have to worry about. You may have thought you didn't have to worry about Brian Hayes anymore. Pittsburgh's done. You don't have to worry about him. Now you do. You really have to worry about them. You really have to worry about the Reds now. Because you do have a 3-game set. Fortunately, it's here, but you do have a 3-game set coming up against it.
I think that's a really big pickup for them. I think that's a better pickup for the Reds in the future than it is for this season. You know, is Brian Hayes going to get them out of the hole that they're in, at least chasing the Padres? You know, who knows? Maybe. I think their starting staff's okay. They're getting a lot out of TCU Hornfrog Nick Lodolo. I can tell you that right now in Cincinnati, but. You know, it's very interesting to see that move like that. Like for the Pirates, like what are the Pirates doing? Like you have Paul Skeens under control for a handful of years now. That's almost going to guarantee you that he's not going to sign with you. Yeah, but it's like you extended Brian Hayes to this team-friendly deal. And when did he sign that deal? Like
he signed it last
year.
Yeah.
And they already shipped him off.
And now you also got to think you'd have to think now O'Neal Cruz.
O'Neal Cruz.
Yeah, O'Neal Cruz is effectively gone at this point because you're trading. Because if you're trading a guy who no one thought was going to be traded for the same reason why you would think Alejandro Kirk wouldn't be available, he just signed a contract. You got to think now that he's going to be on the move tomorrow.
As our buddy Too Much Morton's tweeted out, Brian Hayes has a combined 58 WRC plus the last 2 years. Like I said, I think it's better for the future for the Reds, but I don't think that's going to be something that takes them over the top. That tells me that they weren't going to get a Eugenio Suarez.
Right.
They pivoted and they started talking to Pittsburgh.
Was too high on Suarez, yeah.
And so let me know when you start getting some returns on there on that particular deal. That's a pretty, you know, I didn't think the Reds were going to make too much noise at the trade deadline, but we talked about moves that you didn't think were going to happen, moves that were not, you know, players that you didn't think were available. Brian Hayes, I think, falls into the category of a player that you didn't know was available. That
100%.
You gave him enough of an offer. The Pirates decided to pull the trigger on it.
100%. Yeah, and that's again. Yeah, and Adam just said in our ear that Mitch Keller has been on the market. He has been a guy who is known to be expected to move from Pittsburgh as well. So I mean, this is Pittsburgh sinking themselves at this point back down to the cellar of the Central.
Well, I mean, if you look at the Pittsburgh overall roster, everybody that's under contract with the exception of 3 and I'm not talking ARB guys or, league minimum guys, but guys that have signed big league deals on the Pirates. All of them are impending free agents except for 3 players, and you just traded one of them away in Brian Hayes. It's Brian Reynolds, who's getting his deal is massive. And it's to me that doesn't, because we've heard people talk about, we've had people call in about Brian Reynolds, right? Because the Padres have been linked to him in years past. But like Brian Reynolds at 30 years old is under contract until 2030 with a 2031 $20 million club option. That's a lot of money and another big contract for an aging veteran at age 30 for 13 towards the cap. It's a decent move, but that's like adding another Jake Cronenworth contract to your roster. To me, it's not that one that makes too much sense, but they lose Brian Hayes now. Now they have 2 guys under contract. Mitch Keller, who's getting a lot of trade interest, and Brian Reynolds. Isaiah Kiner-Falefa is a rental. Andrew Heaney's a rental. Andrew McCutcheon's a rental. Tommy Pham's a rental. Caleb Ferguson's a rental if anybody really wanted him. And Tim Mesa's a rental for the Pirates. Pirates could go out there and just trade away their entire roster if they wanted to today.
Yeah, and you also got to think, we've, over the last couple of weeks that we've really been following this, we've heard guys from Arizona, Merrill Kelly, that we've just immediately struck off the board. Same thing with Eugenio Suarez and other guys from Arizona. Strike them completely off the board because it's an interdivisional rival. They're not going to trade interdivision. This is a big name getting traded from inside the division from a team that's out to a contender. So maybe that does open the door. And again, it does depend on the relationship, as we discussed yesterday. It does depend on the relationship between the Padres and the Diamondbacks front offices to possibly get a trade done. But maybe this does put guys like Suarez and Merrill Kelly on the table for San Diego coming into the deadline tomorrow.
Yeah,
those are the words.
We've had multiple interdivision trades right now leading into this trade deadline. Brian Hayes, when you talk about Brian Hayes, did he win a Gold Glove, or he was like an all? He won some award over Manny that I thought was ridiculous, or he was a favorite for. I think it was a Gold Glove he was familiar with over Manny. I don't think he ended up winning or not. But the thing that we heard about Brian Hayes a lot, what did everybody say? What has everybody said in the last 15 minutes about Brian Hayes?
Yeah, it's 2023 Gold Glove.
So he did win the Gold Glove, right? It's elite defender.
Yeah.
It's nothing about the offense.
No, right now
is Brian Hayes change of scenery, better team, better ballpark?
Yeah,
for hitting.
Yep.
Is that going to increase? Maybe boost his numbers a little bit as a player that's an elite defender, but now playing in a ballpark that might suit him a little bit better.
Here are his offensive numbers right now. It's a 236, 2 home runs, 36 RBIs, scored 34 runs, 10 stolen bases. So he does have a little bit of speed. He's got a .569 OPS. He's got a 1.2 WAR. And that's not from being hurt. He's got 369 at-bats this season. So he's played a vast majority of this season. To put that into perspective, for Manny crossed the 400 at-bat total last night. So he hasn't been out. If he has, it hasn't been for long stretches. But yeah, a change of scenery, a notorious hitter's ballpark. And we talked about it yesterday also with Luis Robert Jr., giving him a reason and giving him emphasis to actually try. That could really turn his season around.
We got the return on that. Reds are giving up their number 2 prospect, shortstop Sal Stewart. He's on his way. He's a AAA guy.
Middle infielder.
Estimated time of arrival is next year. He's 21 years old. So the Pirates get younger. They don't have to pay them. They shred some money. Mm-hmm. They get younger with Sal Stewart to play shortstop. And then the other one, Taylor Rogers is going to Pittsburgh.
Wow.
Which is interesting to me.
There you go.
I mean, you got a relief pitcher Taylor Rogers getting sent to Pittsburgh. You're looking at teams in the postseason. You need pitching. You need plenty of pitching. And the Reds decide to trade away Taylor Rogers to the Pittsburgh Pirates as part of the deal.
Well, I mean, that's as you do.
Taylor Rogers, $12 million this year. He's a free agent of the year. Second highest paid player on the Reds right now. Maybe it was a salary flip right there.
It
but
could be.
But the thing, you only pay like 40% of that.
Yeah.
At this point in time.
Yeah, because he's done most of the season.
Right. So it's only like a couple of million that you'd have to pay to Taylor Rogers. He gets sent over to
Got payday in 2 days, too.
Pittsburgh. Yeah, there you go. That's an interesting trade. I think it's a good trade for Cincinnati. I mean, it shores up third base. You got an elite defender there. I think you're taking a chance on him fitting in Cincinnati in terms of offense. And to me, it's a marginal move for a team. I don't think they're going to be big spenders, the Reds.
No.
I think this might be their big move that they have, which means that's one less team in the National League that Eugenio Suarez could potentially go to. Maybe they can ship him off to Seattle. I know the Brewers and the Phillies were checking in on Eugenio Suarez, but I think it's a good move for Cincinnati. It's not a they can go win in the playoffs now move, but I think that sets them up better for the future than it does maybe this year. And again, for anybody, he's not a player like he didn't fit the Padres, but it's an interesting move that they made, and probably the biggest move that we have had so far, at least in the last couple of days.
And before we get to our legal, Go Aztecs also reminding us in the chat, David Bednar, this pretty much means that he's gone. They've also thrown out Dennis Santana as a name that could go. So there are a lot of guys and a lot of names that Pittsburgh has thrown out there that are almost certain to go at this point.
I think this opens up the Pirates to being massive sellers right now at the deadline. I mean, because the one player that you would think, aside from Paul Skeens, that they wouldn't trade away.
I think Adam may have just had a stroke in the chat.
To Brian Hayes. Huh?
I have a feeling the Padres get Matt Olson from East County Chris.
Well, that would be up there with the, crazy trade you'd see out of nowhere. I mean, maybe they're still trying to get Sean Murphy. I don't think the Braves are selling, but we'll talk about that when we get back from a quick break. We got to get to our legal ID. It's not really a break, but we're the Braden Surprenant Show, live from the Loft. Let's pause 10 seconds for station identification.
KWFN and KWFN HD1 San Diego.
This is Jake Cronenworth from the San Diego Padres.
Cronenworth to third, standing with a 3-run triple.
The Padres play here on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan and Odyssey Sports Station.
Live from the Loft here, Braden Surprenant Show. Braden Surprenant, Frank Marchese here, taking you for the next couple of minutes here before we get to Sam Levitt at the Padres pregame show. Just discussing the breaking news here that Brian Hayes has been traded to the Cincinnati Reds from the Pittsburgh Pirates, and how this changes the dynamic for the Pittsburgh Pirates and how many guys we feel as though can be up for grabs as the trade deadline grows near. We got just about 30 hours or so before the trade deadline is done.
This is fun, man. This is we were saying it earlier today. It's starting to build up. We're feeling the energy in the building here. Let's quickly talk. We didn't get to the Buster Only clip that he had with Gwynn and Chris, and it was mostly about whether or not the Braves would trade at all.
Yeah.
I mean, the Braves recently have been adding fringe pitchers just to really make it through the season, and so I don't see them being sellers. If you look at Atlanta in general, they have everybody under contract for a long time. They don't need to trade away any of those pieces. They're right there, like for next year. Most of the problems that Atlanta has this season has been injuries. It's been injuries.
Yep.
They're starting five. They're five guys in the rotation are all on the injured list right now from opening day.
I think they were the Dodgers.
They had Jurickson Profar out for PED suspension for 82 games, and he's ineligible for the postseason anyway. I don't think they would sell, which establishes to me that is another place that you could see a crazy A.J. Preller move that we talked about stemming from Kevin Acey's newsletter earlier today. That might be maybe he gets Sean Murphy from Atlanta.
It's a possibility.
If you had to pick one team that Preller makes a deal with that is one of those crazy deals, Atlanta's the perfect recipe for that potential move.
It would be, especially because from what we've seen out of, as you mentioned, what we've seen out of Atlanta, what they've done at the trade deadline, so far. It is one of those things, but I still think that, to be fair, I do believe that Alejandro Kirk could be one of those interesting names, and I believe it now. I threw it out there because it was the first name that popped in my head before, but especially seeing what we just saw with Brian Hayes, something we could possibly see, especially if the right offer comes along for Toronto.
Shoot, maybe O'Neal Cruz is available now. Pirates
There you
open
go.
for business, just shipping everybody off. I just don't want to see Paul Skeens anywhere in the division that's not on the Padres if they decide to be that foolish. I don't need the malpractice of the Pirates to fire back on anybody in the National League, especially us. So it's starting to cook a little bit, which is going to be great. I can't wait for the Padres to make a move as soon as we get off the air so Sam can talk about it for the entire pregame show. He's got to get a lot of stuff in, though, on the pregame show.
By the way, our favorite sports reporter here, Ken Rosenthal, has just posted it a minute ago. There's a link to The Athletic, if you subscribe to The Athletic, their live trade deadline blog, which is constantly updating. So if you want to stay in tune with what's going on during the trade deadline, during the Padre game today, if you're subscribed to The Athletic, there's going to be a live blog updating by the minute.
And be sure to follow us on social media.
Yes.
FMarks324. That's Frank Marchese. I'm B_SURP. B Serp. You can follow the show at B_SURP show as it's getting rowdy out here at the Loft. Everybody's having a good time, ready for the Padres and New York Mets to get started here in the next hour or so. Sam Levitt's going to take over for us in the next couple of minutes. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to our YouTube channel. The description, or it's in the description below, all the links to where you can subscribe. You can subscribe if you're watching on 97.3 or on my page as well, at B_SURP. We're trying to get up to 500 subscribers on the Braden Surprenant Show YouTube channel. Be sure to do that. And all of our shows are in podcast form. You can listen to this. If you missed anything on the show, we had a lot of good information today about the trade deadline. Wherever you get your podcasts, be sure to subscribe, like, and favorite all of our stuff. You can listen to it wherever you get your podcast. So, great day today. Getting ready for Sam Levitt, Ecowater SoCal Padres. It's a beautiful day for Padres baseball.
Gorgeous day out here.
Gorgeous day. And so, looking forward to seeing a good ball game today. Is Elo going to be down here at all so he can squirm some more?
He was here yesterday, so I don't think he'll be here today.
He's Frank Marchese. I'm Braden Surprenant. Signing off from the Loft. Sam Levitt coming up next. San Diego's #1 sports station, 97 through the Fan. See you guys tomorrow at the round table and full trade deadline coverage as the trade deadline will come in at 3 o'clock Pacific time tomorrow. We'll talk to you then. Braden Surprenant Show, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97 through the Fan.